So as I was recording the first video in this series of plot ideas and reviews or whatever else I throw in here, I'm realizing I very much hate staring at a camera and talking. It's really weird. I actually enjoy public speaking, but something about not having the actual public there makes it more difficult. Now, each video I hope to do something different. I think the main series I'd like to do is coming up with ideas for different movies that focus on the nerdier sides of things, like comic books and superheroes and sci-fi and you name it. On the other hand, I'd like to talk about movies and review, so taking a look at movies in the past and maybe how certain little things could be done to the story that would have made them better. Now again, these are all just ideas. I don't have any actual evidence. I don't have a time machine, so I can't go back and check these out. And if I did, you wouldn't know it, because then I wouldn't have a video about it. Now, today I'd like to talk about the Fantastic Four and my idea for integrating them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now again, there's a lot of things that have to happen. One and foremost, you have to have Fox do something like Sony did with Spider-Man and give the movie rights back over to Marvel with a strict, I guess, ideology of how their characters could be used. Now, I, for one, I think bringing the Fantastic Four into the MCU would be a great idea. I think it would help to really help Fox out, considering all they've made is bomb after bomb. And I think they really just need to give it. And let's face it, they haven't been great films. And right now they're just holding onto the rights because they hope something will happen, versus making a surefire deal with Marvel, who is striking gold now that they've been bought by Disney. So what do they got to lose? Nothing. They have a lot to gain though. Money. Anyway, this is my idea. Now, I think the Fantastic Four should not start out as a modern day movie. The Fantastic Four's roots are back in when the comic debuted, 50s, 60s. I don't have the exact date. But that's what you should start with. Similar to what you saw in The Incredibles, that type of background. And I think that's what would make them stand out. You could definitely do a fish out of water, especially if you were to transport those characters into the modern day world. So for those non-comic book fans, we have Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, super smart, super stretchy. We have Sue Storm, also very intelligent, the power to turn invisible, create force fields, and with that force field invisibility, some telekinetic type ability there. Not the same as like Jean Grey or anything, but she can control her force bubbles in different ways, and that's what I refer to as telekinetic. We have the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, who can flame on, cover his body in fire, fly around, great fireballs, being massive clouds and tornadoes of fire. You name it, anything with fire you pretty much do. And then, of course, we have the Thing, Ben Grimm. Now, the Thing, super strong, more of a bruiser, heavy character, but also very lovable, honest. He's like a big teddy bear in a rock form. I would say out of all the characters, he probably has the biggest heart. Later on, the Fantastic Four were joined by other characters like Franklin Richards, who was Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm's son, and a host of other characters they pick up on the way. Even Spider-Man has been a part of the Fantastic Four before. He wore a costume that was Fantastic Four and had a bag on his head. Actually, I don't know if as much as he was a part of it, as much as he just needed a quick costume. But he was also part of Future Foundation, where he had a white costume, and they all have white costumes, etc. Now, this is my idea. Take it or leave it. But to integrate Fantastic Four into the MCU, I think you need to start where the original comic started. I think we're in the middle of a space race, 50s, 60s, I don't have my dates right. But start with the space race. Start with the US making deals, trying to get up into space before the Russians do. Start with that Cold War type of mentality. You then are greeted with our Fantastic Four, our unlikely heroes, scientist, pilot, friends, family, the four characters who will make it into space. Now, there's a lot of discourse amongst when they cast Johnny Storm as a different race other than white. Honestly, don't think it matters what race you cast any of these characters in. It's a new age, go with it. But I think you start with that old timeline. They go up in their old school rocket, they go and investigate a cosmic event, In the process of investigating that cosmic event, I think what should happen is that they go through a wormhole into another place and they're never heard from again. The government disavows any knowledge of them because, let's face it, it was a secret mission anyway. It's failed. Cut to modern day. Now, it's the modern day times. The Avengers are well known. We have other heroes out there. The MCU is in full effect at this point. Powered people, superheroes, you name it, are all out there. When out of nowhere, this ship carrying our unlikely heroes reappears from space and crashes down in a little country known as Liberia. There they are greeted by Dr. Doom. However, he looks more like your traditional Doom with green robes and decked out in green and silver. However, his face is not yet disfigured, and I'll get to that a little later. But he brings them in. He awakens them to the reality that they have time traveled into the future somehow. And so with that, in a lot of ways, he's manipulating them. He wants the power cosmic, which has changed them. They come back as very different people. And I think the course of the movie would in part be dealing with these changes. Them experimenting with their powers, of course having the tensions of a family. They've been gone for so long, and now they're in the modern day world, and all they have is each other. Now with this, I think you could also connect to the other world with the Sokovia Records. You could have Iron Man or whoever's serving this place, War Machine, etc., come into play. And what I mean by that is they want to talk to the Fantastic Four. It leads to a battle. Of course, Dr. Doom sells it as, or Victor Von Doom, as these people just aren't happy with my dictatorship. They're twisted. They've gone corrupt. The U.S. has changed since you were gone, etc., etc. And so you get a nice little battle between the Fantastic Four and I think the military, the U.S. military, and Dr. Doom. Not Dr. Doom, I'm sorry. U.S. military and maybe some of the Avengers that are still part of the Accords. Maybe the Vision, maybe War Machine, whoever's a part of that at that time. Now, over the course of the film, you would see a romance develop between Victor Von Doom, who's fallen for Sue Storm. You would see Reed trying to create his feelings, wanting to fully express himself, but the issue with Reed is he's always been super smart, but in that way he's not very smart when it comes to social interactions. Yes, I know, typical geek trope, but that's him. And as Victor Von Doom's true intentions come to fold, they end up turning on him, which leads to a massive battle between the Doom bots and Doom himself. You would see Doom deck himself out in a armor similar to Iron Man's, but scaled down to looking more like his traditional comic book self. You'll see a battle unfold, and I think over the course of that battle is where his face will get messed up and the Fantastic Four will leave, and eventually they will join the Accords, and through the course of some dialogue and some plots leading up to this final ending of the film, that's where you'll see them become residencies in the Baxter Building. I mean, I think you could see it in a lot of different ways. You have four super smart individuals with different variants of power, and if they're always on hand in New York City to help out when needed, not necessarily a bad thing. Plus, having them go toe-to-toe with Dr. Doom and put him on this keister, I think would also make them liked by the U.S. government, considering that's what they want, the first people to take down Doom, the dictator. Now, I think through the course of the film you can also do some hints at Dr. Doom's ties to the occult, especially since the Doctor Strange movie will already be out there at this time. But I think it's possible. But again, for all this to occur, we need Fox to make a deal with Marvel. Fox has definitely made some great movies. They made some great X-Men films. I just think with the Fantastic Four, they've rushed it each time trying to... I think they've done it without a clear plan. Now, that being said... Sorry, my cat's freaking out. That being said, I do think if Fox were to keep Fantastic Four, they need to start from scratch. I think you could basically do the same movie I just said, except instead of it being modern times with the Avengers, you're looking at them coming to a world of mutants. Now that battle with the government and the military would be just that, powered people or giant war machines, but you'd have them fight. Now what this would lead into, though, is a second movie, which could be Fantastic Four and the X-Men, which is a versus film, and that's where people's fear of mutants and their love of Fantastic Four puts them together, and what you end up with is a movie where the two sides are fighting, maybe the Fantastic Four in the direction of the X-Men, in the direction of the military, the US government, the X-Men fighting for what they normally fight for, maybe a second party or third party manipulating the whole thing for whatever reason, and then over the course of the film, you see the two come together and form an alliance. And I think this would be really easy to do, especially with Ben Grimm, a character who they've done many storylines where he hated the way he looked and felt that people feared him, and you could see that him relating to the X-Men in that regard. So, Fox, if you want to give up the rights to Marvel, it could be done. If you want to keep it, it could also be done, but I think you gotta just go with what works. Put some money behind it. Put a director behind it. And thank you for joining me. Leave your thoughts in the comment section as always. My name is Joseph Ridley, and I'm signing off.